here. I risk everything. I leave everything behind. Salut. Oh, no,
Или потому что я сильная.
The powers that be, or should I say the powers that pee, are still pissing down on Ballyloft here in Cavan.
A tale of great deluge falls into my mind. A tale from the gutter. But even in the sewers of the world, all humans have a craving for life.
Can I help you with something?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to Europe on Screen 2021 Film Talk. My name is Putri. I'm the Festival Co-Director of Europe on Screen 2021. So today we will have a chat about the film, one of my favorite, Redemption of a Roof from Ireland. We will talk with the filmmaker itself, Mr. Philip Doherty. Philip, can you kindly turn on your camera and also your sound?
Hello, Putri. How you doing?
Hi, Philip. Good to see you.
Morning.
So, yes, it's the morning right now in Galway, I guess, no?
It is, yeah. It's about 11 o'clock or so, yeah.
Yeah, here is actually already quite late in the afternoon, like 5 p.m. So, yeah. So before we start to chat about your film, I would like to basically just explain the rule of the webinar. So, yes. The webinar will be held in English and and then also audience can ask their questions directly by putting their questions at the Q&A button. If you wish to also ask the filmmaker in Indonesia, please do so, and we will help you to translate when to ask to directly Mr. Philip. And then all participants are muted in order to enable the speakers to speak without interruptions. And please keep in mind that the webinar session is being recorded and it is also broadcasted live on YouTube at the moment. So yes, Philip, how you doing? How is actually the corona situation in Ireland now?
Oh, well, it's okay. I mean, it's the country's starting to open up again. I think it's one of the slowest in Europe to open up, though. But we've been quite conservative in how we're opening up. But yeah, it's just in the last week or so, or last couple of weeks, things are starting to open up. The cinemas opened up in the last few weeks, and theaters are starting to open up. So I think it's getting back to some sort of normality, if we can ever get back to some sort of normality. But yeah, it's looking positive at the moment. Yeah, it's looking good.
So you're saying that the cinema are already open. I understand that your film was supposed to actually release the cinema in this summer, isn't it?
Yeah, no, what the cinemas have been open now for about a month, I think. So yeah, we were released on the 27th of August. We had our nationwide release, which was really exciting.
Cool. And how was the response so far?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, fantastic. I just absolutely delighted with the reaction. Just people have been loving it, and just getting messages from people I haven't, from school that I haven't seen in years, getting in touch. People coming out of the woodwork, but just the general reaction from the public and people, in the media and everything has been absolutely massive. So we're absolutely chuffed. It couldn't have asked for a better reaction. Really, it's been wonderful.
Yes. And I mean, we love the film, and especially with the dark humor and the black comedy. It is not it's very rare actually to have a good dark comedy in Indonesia, because in Indonesia the dark comedy is not, sometimes doesn't play well, but your film is actually capturing all these aspects. And it opens with the beginning of the scene where it kind of like offering us a Western spaghetti cowboy with the atmosphere and also the color. Were you intended to do so, or was it also any influence from the films that you've made as a reference?
Yeah, absolutely. The first conversation I had with the cinematographer, Bershie Wagner, was that this is going to be like a neo-Western. And that's why. So, from a visual point of view, that was a decision we made early on, because it has elements of the Western. It's like this bad boy wandering back into the town, and everyone hates him, and there's obviously the hanging reference as well, which are in every Western as well. And then one of my friends said to me, God, watching it, I felt like, when the car would pull out beside the house, that you'd nearly want to tie up the car because it was like a horse. But yeah, so yeah, they were deliberate influence. Well, not just, you don't really, when you're writing a script, you're kind of writing it from your heart. But yeah, stylistically, we felt this had all the tropes and motifs of a Western. We went for that in the visual style.
Yeah, that pretty much showed. And then also I learned also from your film that actually it take a strong rope, like in the beginning when he entered this store and choose the rope. That was like, it was supposed to be sad, but we could not help to laugh actually, like, oh yeah.
That people have. I watched the film a good few, just since it's been in the cinema. I've seen it in a couple of cinemas, but people are always laughing at that scene. So don't feel guilty. It is deadpan black comedy, and it's wonderfully performed by Aaron and Shane Connaughton, the hardware store owner. But yeah, I guess it kind of sets up the tone of the film that the comedy is very, very dark. That we're going to be laughing at things we probably shouldn't be laughing at.
Yes, exactly. And all the even like the things that probably supposed to create sadness or depressive, you couldn't basically just set a tear. You probably set a tear because you're laughing, because it's quite it's quite sad in a way. But you're saying that you are also writing this film, and we were just wondering how long did it take you to prepare for this film, to do the writing and also the production?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's not an easy answer to that, because it's my first feature film. So I guess there's a lot of years kind of gone in behind it. So I guess the how it came about, the film itself, was I was running an art space in Cavan, a theatre and performance art space and gallery with two visual artists. So we were making a lot of big productions, theatre productions, and there was a big art scene after growing in there, like a network of brilliant visual artists, designers, set builders, actors, musicians. So we were doing theatre shows with like 150 people, like massive scale of productions. But we felt like the next step would be to make a film. So I got a small bit of funding from the local county council to make this feature film. And I knew if anywhere in the world we could pull this off on a tiny budget, it was with this wonderful group of artists that I was working together over the years. So I guess having that team and working with these people from, around 10 years, that kind of underpinned everything of going into the production. So we managed to kind of, the brilliant people are thinking on their feet and being inventive and being able to kind of problem solve along the way. And that's why we'll probably be able to achieve something like a feature film on such a tiny budget. As regards to writing of the film, yeah, that's an interesting question. So I had written like 3 or 4, I think 4 feature film scripts before I wrote Redemption of a Rogue. And I think I was trying to get these bad films out of my system. I was writing like these wild, wacky comedies with no plot, but very visual. So I'm a playwright, and I've written a lot of, stage plays and radio plays, and written a lot for the theatre. So I guess the step into writing for screen was it was a big leap. So it took me a while to kind of get there. And then writing Redemption of a Rogue, I'm not sure how long it kind of took. I think the story idea was with me for a long, long time, and I probably didn't have the courage to write it. It was, you have to kind of pay attention to these ideas that don't leave you alone. You've nearly an idea for a story every day when you're a writer, but there's only about one a year that kind of really stays with you, and you have to make this film or play or whatever the medium is. The idea for it all kind of, I guess it's a very personal story. In it's set in Cavan, which is a world I grew up in. I grew up in this sort of mad world with beautiful, eccentric, larger than life characters with this dark, sardonic, droll wit ready to take a bite out of you at any second. So I grew up with that sort of atmosphere and that dark comedy. And it's this sort of world where, the local football club or GA club have such power over everything. I don't know if you have something similar in Jakarta, but they rule the place like with an iron fist, almost like the mafia, even though it's a football club. So all those elements were kind of in play. And I grew up in a very Catholic upbringing. Most Irish people have been, but my parents are, they're quite religious. So I would have been at mass a lot and in churches a lot, and a lot of religious figurines around the house. And I guess the Catholic religion would have been what you're taught is quite hallucinogenic. It's quite psychedelic what's been taught you. So I think all those things kind of stayed with me, and that supernatural element was always with me as a child. This religious magic that was in our lives or taught to you, or you're brought up with. So that was always at play. And then I guess the story itself was kind of based on my own personal experience of I did a lot of traveling when I was in my 20s. Backpacking for majority of my 20s. I spent some time in Indonesia actually as well.
Oh, you did? Wow.
Yeah, I was there I just traveled around the islands for about 4 months, and but I'd always return home penniless, sad, and with this guilt riding on my shoulders of having too good of a time. And you'd arrive back home into your house, and you'd have all these sort of feelings and of shame and guilt, and you'd feel like a prodigal son. And I guess I had this idea coming from that to write a story about a character who arrives back home to his hometown, but he's only got one day to live, and he's there to settle old scores and face up to his past shames and past sins and try and resolve those things. And that story idea stayed with me for a long, long time. So I guess all those elements have done growing up in Cavan and that world and those personal experiences were in a spin cycle and helped kind of create this story.
That's really, wow. I can see actually the Balilu, like probably is it the Balilu was also like a representative of Cavan, County Cavan? Where you
Ballylock, yeah. So that's a fictional village. But it's very representative. You're absolutely right. It's like an allegory for all of Cavan, and it's in County Cavan. So that's those characters that you see in it are the people I grew up in. But yeah, it's and I guess it's a love song to Cavan, but it's also I think everywhere you grew up in, your hometown, or you've a love-hate relationship with it.
Yeah.
You truly love it, but at the same time, there's so many things that annoy you and hit. And I think that probably comes across in the film. But I think everything in that film really came from my heart or from a very personal place.
Mm-hmm. And did you also do the shooting in Cavan?
Yeah, we shot it in Cavan. Yeah, we shot it in a village called Swanland Bar. and also in Cavan Town, most of the interiors in Cavan Town. But yeah, it's this kind of almost abandoned village on the border between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. It's a beautiful place and gorgeous people, and everyone was so supportive of the making of the film and really rode in and got in behind it. It was a big community effort in the end.
Yeah, because I saw during in the film the neighbors play a lot of also importance, like they come to almost the funeral of the dead, and then also during in the bar. I was just wondering, are there real actors or they were just like or the people of the cabin itself, or so I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, well, they would consider themselves real actors. No, I'm joking. No, they're all locals. They're all community people. So we did auditions. To see, because there was a lot of little small speaking parts that I wanted to cast locally. And most of the actors in the film are from County Cavan. But yeah, we hosted auditions in the local pub and community centre in Swanland Bar, and it was like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And we had to cut it off because there was just too many people. And I wanted to see everybody, so I was taking people in big groups. So there was a huge interest. I mean, there really is the magic of the silver screen, and everyone wanted to be part of the film. And so a lot of the big extras and big scenes were from people from the area. And also people that are in my, that we worked with the theatre over the years as well, were involved in that as well. And my family, a lot of my family are dotted throughout the whole film as well.
So you tag them along, all your family, to join.
Oh yeah. A lot of the children in the film are my nieces and nephews.
Oh my God, was that the one that almost see Jimmy during when in the barn?
Yeah, well, one of the kids there is my godson, actually. Yeah, my nephew. Yeah. But the other actors, the children actors, were actors I auditioned over a period of time. They were really good.
All right. And you earlier mentioning that you work with also actors and actresses that have been working with you at the play, at the theater. Is that also including Aisling and Aaron too, or they came from an audition for the film?
No, I know Aaron Monaghan for years. So myself and Aaron are both from Cavan. We grew up we knew each other when we were teenagers. So we were in youth drama together, doing plays when we were 14, 15, 16. So we knew each other for a long time. And Aaron Monaghan grew into this amazing actor. We had very different paths. He ended up being on the national stage at like 19 years of age and hasn't been off it since, really. He's one of the top theatre actors in the country, and he's one of the best actors Ireland has ever produced. But mostly in theatre. He's one of the rare actors that is so busy in theatre, he rarely has time to go and do TV or film. And he's very sought after. But we've been trying to do a project for years together. But I spent my 20s traveling around and backpacking while he's traveling around with theatre shows around the world. So we had very different paths. I was, became a writer, and he became a stage actor. But it just, everything fell into place for Redemption of a Rogue. He was available around the time I wanted to shoot the film, which is really rare. And then I pitched the idea to him. He hadn't read a script. I just pitched it to him, what it was, what the character, the whole storyline, and he absolutely fell in love with the story. And he was like, "I'm in." And I goes, "Are you sure? Do you don't want to read the script first?" But he said, "No, I want to be part," because he very much loves the theatre scene and the art scene that was happening in Cavan and wanted to be part of that. And he's been very generous to that, actually coming down and doing workshops and stuff like that. But yeah, he's such a generous, brilliant man, and well is a huge talent. But when he came on board with the film, it opened so many doors for me and for the production as well. But most of the other actors you see in the film, I've worked with in theatre shows as well. So except Aisling, actually, but I've seen her lots of the time I've seen her in a good few plays on stage and knew her to talk to and say hello to. But everyone else I'd worked with on theatre and stage shows.
I hope you can still hear me because right now it's very heavy rain.
Sorry?
I hope that you can still hear me in spite of the heavy rain.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So also, I was also like wondering about the soundtrack. The music plays an important role in the film. The very beginning, there's always kind of bluesy ambient. So was that intentional, or do you also, when you write the script, did it also come to your mind about the music that you want people to see in the movie or to feel. So how did it go with the process, putting the soundtrack?
Yeah, no, that's so. The music is a huge part of everything I make, and so one of the early titles for Redemption of a Rogue was actually Redemption of a Rogue, a blues opera. Slightly pretentious, but,
Exactly. Yeah,
but
I'm glad you didn't put
you know,
that.
I wanted, and that's how I was describing it to people early on. You know, when I was getting people involved in the production, that this is a blues opera. This is what we're making. It's like a neo musical in some ways. Yeah, that was very much in the script from early on, and because I wrote a lot of the script listening to music and listening to Delta blues, listening to Tom Waits, listening to these kind of sad old bluesy tunes from Mississippi, and that kind of created the atmosphere, the feeling, or the mood while writing it. So that's because when you listen to music, all these images rush through my head, and I think that helped me write in a visual way. And also Robbie Perry, the composer who did the original composition on the film. I've worked with him a lot over the years in theatre shows, and he was on board from the very beginning. Him and my brother Joe, who did the production design, they're collaborators I work with all the time, and so you know he was a big, because he was on board so early on. I'd read early drafts to him in his kitchen, and we discussed musical ideas. So that was always very much bedded into the script early on. And in fact, he'd a lot of the kind of the stems or the rough ideas for a lot of the music already made for the shoot itself, which needed to be to sync up on the film.
But it was already constructed also during the writing, and then it also plays a pretty important role in your process of creative. So now you were also, before you were being humble about and you were telling about how you and Aaron have a separated ways, but also we would also like to congratulate you for being the best first feature at the Galway Film Fest, and then also the best feature actually to feature of the Galway. This is also something very wonderful.
Yeah, no, that was. I mean, I'd love to be cool and say, yeah, it's nice to win an award, but no, it was unbelievable. It was absolutely amazing because we were we're in the middle of the pandemic at the time, and it was kind of difficult to get the film finished. I couldn't sit beside the end product, very end. Finishing the film was quite difficult because I wasn't able to sit beside the editor. So he was sending little bits and cuts back to me. It was good in one way because all our other work had to disappear. We could focus on Redemption of Rogue, me and the editor, Alan Quigley. But there were obstacles to get over, and even driving to Dublin and finishing some of the sound design, there was a lot of hoops to get over. So when we got into the Galway Film Festival, it was just a relief to get the film finished and get it over the line. That was the real victory. So we're just happy with that. And then we didn't think in our wildest dreams that we would win best first feature. But then when we did, there was such excitement. The award ceremony was online. I was here in my kitchen in this seat, cheering and delighted. So after winning that first award, there's no way on earth you expect to win the second award, because I don't think that usually happens. So when that happened, it was a wonderful experience. I was just so happy for everyone involved, because it was such a huge team of brilliant people working on this project for very little. They were doing it for the love of making films. They were doing it as a passion project, and for everyone to have this reward was just such a satisfying, wonderful moment. Yeah, it was amazing to experience.
And you were saying earlier that you were doing some of the part of the shooting during the pandemic, the earlier part of the pandemic. Was that the biggest challenge?
No, it wasn't. No, we shot it in 2019, but during the pandemic, just the editing and the post-production process, and then some of extra sound design and signing off on the sound. But it involved getting actors in and traveling across the country, which wasn't allowed at the time. But there was the government allowed kind of loopholes for media, for film and TV. So, but it was just extra challenges, but it made it more satisfying when we got over the line, I think, with it as well. We had to do a couple of pickups, I think, and something small during it, but like a day shoot or something. No, we were lucky that we got to, everything was more or less in the can before coronavirus hit.
And what was your fun experience in producing the film, or maybe your favorite scene from everything.
That's like asking who's your favorite child. I
Well,
probably would have a favorite child. I know. I don't know what's my favorite scene. It's hard to say what my favorite. I kind of the experience of making the film was it was a wonderful experience. You know, it was a learning experience from start to finish, and because it was the first feature film, but everything was brand new and everything was a wonderful opportunity. It was just I'm just so chuffed with the people that that I've worked with over the years in the Gonzo Theatre, that we all kind of we took a leap of faith really to make a feature film, and everyone. I was just so overwhelmed and grateful to see how everyone really stepped up and how brilliant they were into this medium. And so that was, for example, we had such a small budget, we couldn't afford rain machines. So, to rent rain machines from a film production company, or it would have blown the budget in 2 days. So, but the whole film is under rain, so we had to make our own rain machines. So like this brilliant production team were able to invent and create their own rain machines by working with the local fire brigade and the local plumbers and made these huge structures that were going over the whole street for that last fight scene where Jimmy's beaten up and getting water from the power mains in the village and the streets. So there was things like that where people were just being so inventive and creative and imaginative and problem solving as they go, to see all that come together and everyone really rooting for each other and working together. It was a really wonderful collective artistic spirit that helped make this film happen. So that was a really, beautiful experience overall. And I loved making film. I loved every single part of it, from writing the script and writing it in a visual way. The difference from coming from being a playwright and it all being through language, and then or majority through language. And then the shoot itself was that spirit on set that I talked about. And then working in post-production was probably my favorite, because it was like putting all the pieces together of the jigsaw and working with a wonderful editor and wonderful post-production team. But yeah, it made me feel like this is my bliss and I want to make more films, and this is the medium that I feel most creative in and full flow. Yeah, it was something that I wasn't expecting to love so much. I don't really have a favorite scene as such, but I'm you put me on the spot there. I tell you, one of the most fun things that happened on set was Kieran Roach, who plays Damien, the younger brother. So Kieran, I've done a lot of theatre shows with him, and he's such a funny man in real life. He's funny bones. He's just a comedian. Like, he's never off, actually. So he came onto the production pretty late. I had to cast him pretty late on the film. So he came in, probably didn't have the lead in as other actors had, and he was probably a little bit nervous on set, because Aaron's a big name actor in the theatre circles. And but the first scene was that fight scene. So it was the first thing you had to do was headbutt Aaron Monaghan in the face, and then we had that big fight scene, where it goes on and on and on and on. So that was the first scene, and when when I was able to call cut on that, which was after quite a while, the whole crew burst out laughing and cheering, and that was a wonderful icebreaker for Kieran Roach, and he just really sung after that. He was flying in confidence and did such a wonderful job on the film.
Did he really headbutt Kieran?
No, he didn't. No.
Because he was just so much blood.
No. He had to pretend to headbutt Aaron. Not that level of realism.
That was fun. Okay, now we have already some questions from our audience there. So one is from Abi Saifud. He said that wonderful film, Rain for me. Is the main character of Rain is the main character of the movie for Ardi. Is it an intentional visual gag for a stereotypical Irish weather? Have the rain all the time?
Yeah. I guess it's a bit of a parody on how much it rains here in Ireland. I'm having a bit of a slight on how much, and especially Cavan, where I'm from. Bloody hell, it seems like it rains all the time, and every summer. But yeah, I think the rain is such a, obviously there's a big metaphor there for for Jimmy's depression and that's the symbolism of the rain, and also the it's a literary device more than a film device, but with extreme weather, like hurricanes or storms and rain and heavy snow, it's kind of used as a device to show the other world encroaching into our world, and that sort of strange supernatural world encroaching into our world, and it's supposed to represent the subconscious of Jimmy's mind mixing in with the real world. So all those things were kind of in a liquid sort of flux on that one as well. But also it's so beautiful as well, on screen to see it. It's such a wonderful texture to it, and that was kind of the main feeling of the film, that wet texture and gloom of the blues sort of style. Irish blues.
I think you choose the perfect weather to create the ambience, and at the end you create another ambience. So Ardi watched the movie until the end to see the other ambience of the film. So yes, and then there was also a question from Kami. What message you want to convey to the audience for Redemption of a Rose?
Sorry, ask that again, please.
She was asking what message you want to convey to the audience to your film.
So I think that's entirely up to the audience. That's it. I think that I'd love for people from all over the world to watch the film and get a different message from it. Do you know what I mean? That's I know deep down what the film is about personally, but I think I wouldn't want to project that onto other people. I'd rather for them come away with their own thing. I guess I could say one thing possibly. I think I won't elaborate on it, but for people to just let it go. That's.
And then the next question from Sarah. Hi, Philip. You said that you base your characters on the feeling of the larger than life character. I'm wondering whether you showed the film to them and how was their reaction, and they realized that you based the characters.
The reaction has been huge. So it was interesting because when it premiered online. So most of the people involved in the film and most of the people in Cavan, when they saw it first, I didn't watch it with them. So they all were watching it in their houses at home because it was part of the Galway Film Flat on an online festival. And then when I had the Cavan premiere, there was only 40 people allowed into the cinema because of COVID-19, because of social distancing. So there were just some of the cast and crew there. The reaction was brilliant, but I mean, they knew they'd already seen the film. They knew the film inside out. So I didn't get that experience of watching it with a big group of Cavan people and see their honest reaction. Do you know? But the emails and the text messages and Facebook messages of people has been absolutely overwhelming. It's been a huge response. I mean, I guess people are only going to get in touch with the people that like it, but I think the reaction has been great. I think no one has called me up and said, "Hey, that's me on the." That's why are you depicting me that? I think I did bring my own kind of personality to the characters. I hope in some way as well. So, but no, the reaction has been great, but no one has rang up complaining that they've been depicted in the film. Not yet, anyway.
That's good to know. And also earlier you said that you made your own rain machine with the help of the firemen of the local village. So it really, you probably really showed us also it takes a real village to make your movie, right? I was just wondering whether these firemen also have watched your film.
Yeah, it takes a village to raise a child, isn't it? So
and it takes a village to make a film.
Yeah, so I guess this is my child. So I don't know if they have seen the film. I know the people who made the rain machine have seen this, but they helped kind of give us the water mains, and then there was some plumbers, really inventive, creative plumbers, and they were working with a guy called Shane Carroll, who was on the production team. He had the nickname. Him and his team were called the Water Boys, on set, and or the Rain Men. So they love the film, and they but I don't know about the fire service if they've seen it yet, but we'll see. I'm sure they're proud of the water that they gave us. I'm sure they're watching. Oh, that's our water.
Yes. And also Kami, the same girl, she was also asking, the next question is actually, do you use special effect or just practical effect for scenes in the movie?
For practical effects for what? Sorry?
Like, do you use special effects or it's just practical effects for the scene in the
Yeah, no, it's practical effects. There was very little kind of done in post, and there's a little few bits of magic done in edit, but we wouldn't have had the budget for it. But also, I do have a nostalgia for old films and the old style of making films, and I come from a theatre background, so I love the idea of building sets and that texture and that feeling on the film. So I think even if I had a lot of money to make the film, it would have been lo-fi and would have been practical, because I just think it looks and feels better on film. But no, we didn't have many special effects. I think the main special effects was for the car crash scene with the backdrop of the screen. That was kind of one of the main scenes. But all in all, it was made on live on set.
And yes, we still have other questions. This one is from Hani Sharifati Priutami. She's actually writing the question in Indonesian. Now I'm going to translate them to you. I really love this film. It shows that how words can be powerful. Can be when Jimmy said to, "Is that the last time?" with by yelling at him, and then the dad died at the time. And Jimmy did not have the time to ask for forgiveness to his dad. While it is also continuous rain, and then so Jimmy can basically redeem his mistake. I would like to ask why Jimmy used a kind of play to end his life.
Why did you use what to end his life?
A kind of play, a
Kind of-
stage play, like a stage play to end his life. A drama made by himself to end his life. This is what Hani would like to ask.
I don't understand. Like, he had a stage play to end his life.
Yes, so Hani was thinking that the end of the so that the Jimmy actually using a kind of stage play that he invited, that he created himself to end his life, as a mean to end his life. Because we understand that in your movie you also put a lot of stories from all other, like a Greek mythology, and so maybe this is something that Hani would like to ask.
I'm not really sure if he deliberately I don't understand as regards putting on a stage play, but so no, I don't think that's what he deliberately did. I think he staged his death. Yeah. Well, I think it's so I think as the film moves on, that he kind of emerges as this Christ-like figure, and obviously when he meets the Virgin Mary or Our Lady, there's complete references there, and the ultimate sacrifice is to, and the irony is that he has to kill himself now when he doesn't want to. So, and I think to get redemption or to get salvation, he really wants to save the town and save his daughter and save the people. But also as well, he wants to save Masha from her arrest that happened earlier in the film, and also save Damien from the death that he's under, and these gangsters are after him. So I think if he's going, he wants to save everyone as part of that. I mean, and he's clever enough and smart enough to kind of create a situation that he can redeem everybody and save everyone with that. So. But yeah, I used the template of the Stations of the Cross to really emerge as throughout the film, but it becomes more obvious as the film comes towards its conclusion.
I
answered the question. Okay, there.
Yes. I also, as you mentioned, the scene with the Virgin Mary wants to smoke. That's really just wonderful. And also like, oh yes, you know what? I cannot smoke because my hand is eternally like this. I laughed so out loud watching that scene, actually. Like I could imagine she wants to smoke.
Well, I guess after being stuck there for a long time, why not?
Exactly.
Yeah, Lorna Quinn played the Our Lady, and she's such a wonderful actress, and she's a real angelic person herself, and
Yes.
very funny as well. So she did such a beautiful job on that, and we shot that really late at night in a very cold church in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the countryside. So it took a lot of work to light that scene, and but the actors, I think, you know, actually you asked this question early on. There's a moment in that scene with Aaron that actually kind of still kind of gets me, you know, emotionally. So I think if that, I'm not saying it's my favorite, but it's definitely one of the most emotional parts for me. That scene with Our Lady and Jimmy. There's a little moment in there that kind of, I think that I really connect with each time I watch it.
Yes, that scene was very breathtaking. So, okay, there's also another question from Gaston Suhadi. He's also writing in Indonesia. So he was asking, who is your favorite Irish filmmaker?
Yeah, favorite Irish film. Well, there's lots of great Irish filmmakers. I mean, a lot of the great Hollywood filmmakers have come from Irish backgrounds, like John Ford.
Yes.
From Spiddle, actually, where his family are from Spiddle, from where I'm living at the moment. But I've always loved the films of Neil Jordan. You know, films like The Crying Game, The Butcher Boy, especially, and then Martin McDonagh. You know, I think Martin McDonagh's stage play. He's a playwright first and foremost. He's been a big inspiration. Certainly, his theatre, his plays, which have been massive across the world, and I love his black comedy. And Pat McCabe, who's actually in the film, wrote the book The Butcher Boy, which Neil Jordan made, and Martin McDonagh, you know, obviously made In Bruges and Three Billboards, and both of them are real masters of black comedy, and I think they've always been a big inspiration for me. I think Lenny Abrahamson is a superb filmmaker as well. He did Adam and Paul and Garage. But yeah, there's a lot. There's 3 or 4 of my favorite Irish filmmakers. But Neil Jordan, I think, just always had that little extra magic with the surrealism that he brings into films, and I think he's always been an influence.
And also good music as well. He always choose good music.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Oh yeah. Also, Gaston was still asking in Bahasa, in Indonesian language. I will translate them to you. One of the themes in this film that I understand is about going home, and this is something that I've seen also in another film. Is it really in your society that going home related to the issue of redemption? Because this theme has somehow have a realistic treatment, but in your film there is actually a touch of surrealistic and then religious. Is it also connected to your experience or your culture?
Yes. So yeah, well, I spent a lot of time traveling in my 20s, as I was saying earlier. So that feeling of coming home comes from a very personal experience, you know, and coming home, because, you know, you're away and you've done wild things, and it's just, it all comes home to roost when you're at home, when you meet your parents. So there's a lot of emotion that comes from a very personal place on that one. But also Irish people are very connected to that theme, because we're a very poor country up until recently. So we've always had to leave Ireland to look for work, usually to America or to England or to Australia, more recently to Australia. So most Irish people have had to spend a lot of their lives away from Ireland. And there's always that yearning to go home. Immigration and emigration is a huge theme in all of Irish art, from theatre to film. So I think that was also consuming that as a kid, all that art and all them stories of emigration probably had affected me. But that feeling of coming home is always there, and that yearning to come back to Ireland is always in every Irish person. So that's a huge theme in a lot of Irish work. So we all can connect to that feeling and coming home. And I think when you're coming home, you're facing up to your past as well. And there's always regret, and there's always shame, and there's always guilt. And the only way you can vanquish that is to really face up to it, and face up to your fears and face up to your past. That's the only way you can heal those past traumas and heal those old wounds. So coming home and doing that is very much, it's a strong symbol of that, I guess.
And it's also related with the redemption that he was asking.
Yeah, very much. Yeah. Well, it depends on the story, but I think his past sins were at home, so he had to come home to face up to them, and the only way he could redeem himself was to heal them, and return to them,
and to face them as well. That's what Jimmy did. So yes, and we have other two questions from Bambang. Hi Philip, what a fantastic funny film. I had fun watching it. One thing I noticed is the score of the film. We talked actually Bambang about this. Why did you choose this particular score? I think Philip has already mentioned that he wanted to deliver something that bluesy, but probably if you want to share more, Philip, on that part, because this is basically he wanted to know about the scoring.
Yeah, so a lot of the music's in the film, like diegetic. It's in the world of the film, and I love films where you hear the music in the film, the score, and then you see it played in the corner of the bar or on the piano or on the radio. I just find that so alive, and it's just so textured. So I wanted to have that in it as well, but as much as possible. So when Jimmy starts, his head starts to kind of the mind starts to go to very absurdist and surreal places, and I wanted to kind of lift the lid on that. A lot of the music kind of symbolizes, and the music kind of brings the emotion and brings the absurdity, and them kind of being singing live within the film shows how the other world is starting to cross over and intersect with his real world, and it's hard to differentiate from between one or the other. So that was kind of a decision to make on the feeling and surrealism of the film. And yeah, and the whole tone of it, I guess, and emotion of the film, that's really brought through by the music. And that was, credit to the wonderful musicians that worked on the film. Robbie Perry, as I said, did the original composition, but there's a lot of other musicians that worked music that I chose, and they're pretty much all of them are from Cavan, or from the area that I grew up in. Singer-songwriters like Lisa O'Neill, Dara Slack, Kieran O'Neill. And they're all people that I knew and grew up with, and have played in the theatre actually that I had in Cavan, and played live gigs there. But they're amazing musicians, and they all have a particular sound, but very much a sound of that area of Cavan. The voice of that area.
Yes, I hope that also answer your question, Bambang. And then now from Oka. Hi Philip, Redemption of a Rook is brilliant. I just wondering, is it your specialty to make dark comedy film, or you will come back with another genre in the future? And he was also, the second question was if you have other Irish films that you recommend us to watch. So he has two questions. One is your recommendation, the recommendation of your Irish film, and then the second one, are you planning to have? Is this your specialty to make a dark comedy film, or are you planning to try another genre in the future?
Okay. I'm thinking of the films. You probably understand. It's so hard to just watch. All right. But dark comedy, yeah, I love dark comedy. I've always been drawn to dark comedy, and I never set out to write a comedy. I never ever go, oh, I'm going to write something funny. You write the story and the character, and then maybe I just can't resist writing these ridiculous, these kind of larger than life characters, and then usually these personalities bring the comedy when you're writing them. But the comedy is a byproduct of the story. But I've always been drawn to that sort of those types of films and those types of stories, because I think no matter how dark and how awful and how unbearable things can get, humor can lift you out of that and show the light and give you hope. And no matter how bad things can get, you can always have a laugh, and it's important to have a laugh. And I think, it's the truest reflection, I think, of life, because life is bleak and hopeful at the same time. It is cruel and hilarious at the same time, and it's dark and beautiful at the same time. So I think that's what I've always been drawn to from my own personality. And then I think as regards Irish films to watch, I think watch any Neil Jordan film. The Crying Game, if you haven't seen it, The Butcher.
Oh, the best.
If you haven't seen it. I think more recent films would be to watch. It's a Greek filmmaker, but it's an Irish film, Irish production. Is The Lobster directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, but it was an Irish production company that made it, and Colin Farrell's in it. I think In Bruges by Martin McDonagh, maybe people have to think, because it was a lower budget film. And there's a gorgeous film by Lenny Aronson called Garage, which I think people would really enjoy. And there's another one he made called Adam and Paul. And then there's a comedy called The Young Offenders, which is good fun as well, that people could enjoy.
Great. Yeah, we screened actually The Laughter in Europe also a couple of years ago. So, and in Bruges, we had it also screened here in the cinema, the public cinema. So, Oka, so I hope that you take a note. If you don't, you can watch it again, the recording in our YouTube. So, Phillips, for the last questions that I have, because we have already covered all the audience questions. So, could you tell us more about your next project? Since you said that you were actually doing a little bit of writing here and there.
Yeah. So my next project, I'm not going to tell too much about it, but that's my dog barking there. My apologies.
It's okay. Oh.
So I'm writing another film at the moment. So it's another dark comedy, and it's about a balladeer. A balladeer, and she's getting this operatic revenge on the person she blames for her husband's death. So but it's very much in the realms of black comedy, and yeah, so it's nearly there, and I'm looking forward to working on it, but and getting it from the page into production. And then I'm working on in the theatre production a lot at the moment as well. So working towards a new play that is on next February. I just finished the theatre production actually, which we had to do as an outdoor. It was an outdoor production because of the pandemic. People can't really congregate inside, so it was a huge production. We did it in 14 stages, and it was about the Irish War of Independence. But so yeah, it was like a big show, but it went really well, thank God. But yeah, so just trying to get the second feature, the difficult second album. Try and see how that goes. It needs a little bit of work, but it's very nearly there. So hopefully I'll someday get to share it with you all. That would be a dream.
So you can actually feel the nervousness of the musician that's going to release their second album.
yeah, I don't know, but yeah, no, I've been working on for quite a while. It's one of those stories that have stayed with me for a long time. So hopefully hopefully it turns out all right.
I think if everything's written from your heart, then made from your heart, then it will be a great result later on. So thank you and good luck, Philip. But before we ending the session, I think we will have a photo session. Fina, our host, can you cue us on how to do this?
Yes, I am the host and we will do the photo session. Please look at the camera, show your best pose and smile, and I will count to 3. 1, 2. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Let's do it once again. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fina.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Philip, and good luck with your stage performance. I mean, I've been missing out a lot of stage and music because we are still in semi-lockdown in Jakarta, and the cinema is just open actually yesterday. So
great.
this is so hopefully we could see also live music and stage performance like what you did with your theater.
Yeah. Well, I hope everything opens up soon for you there. And I love Indonesia. Like, it's one of the most favorite places I've ever been.
Where in Indonesia? You haven't got to tell us where.
I was in Jakarta, but I also travel around a lot of. I travel as far as Papua, actually.
Oh, wow!
So,
I've never been to Papua.
It's a really special country, and I'd love to go back. It's really beautiful, and yeah, it's a magical place. And thanks for having me and our film part of your film festival, Putri. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Philip. And I wish you a great weekend and a good Sunday today. And thank you for participating in our film talk today.
My
pleasure.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So everyone, that was our fun talk during Road to Europe on Screen 20. Sorry, it's not road anymore. It's already festival. So yes, during our Europe on Screen 2021 film talk with Mr. Philip Doherty, the filmmaker of Redemption of a Rogue. If you haven't watched the film, please watch it. It's a funny film. I mean, like I said, there will be scenes that you should not be laughing, but you are laughing out loud. That's how I found myself actually. So please, the film are still available. The tickets are also still available. Please book it right now before it's gone missing. And also next, today we have already wrapped up all the film talk, but we have our festival hangout at the theater space tonight at 9 p.m. with my co-director Noval Yazid, and tomorrow we also have another session of film talk with Noval. And directly book your ticket, or if you want to join the film talk, just register yourself on our website. And also when you go to Festival Scope, there is actually a little button on the left side. It's with the blue title join Q&A. You can also click on that and while you actually booking the tickets, and then you can enter the film session, especially if you have already watched the film, and you can win some good prizes. I would also like to say thank you to Irish Embassy in Indonesia, and also for Watchman ID, who has supported our film talk session today. So I wish you a good Sunday, and I hope that, oh yes, there's actually a queue. Penanya terbaik. So yes, I almost forgot that we have this prize for the best question. So the best question, let me just check it first. Yes, the best question will and the winner of today that will receive a special package from Europe on Screen 2021 is I'm just gonna make it more thrilling and deg-degan for everyone. The winner is Gaston Suhadi. So Gaston, voilà, Gaston, you win. You win the package from Europe on Screen 2021. Our team will be in contact with you, and I wish you all, the audience, to stay healthy and stay safe, and don't be sad that Sunday is over, because tomorrow another day begin and we will have a new spirit. And do not forget to watch films at Europe on Screen 2021. Ciao.